turn up the auxiliary blue dial on the top a little bit. That's his volume. Is that not hearing you? You know the two blue auxiliaries past number 8, the upper one, turn it to 2 o'clock.
Yeah, it's just connected.
Yes.
Mr. Cavalier? Mr. Cavalier? Do we have a connection? Okay. Mr. Cavalier? Volume's up to 2 o'clock on top on the upper blue auxiliary.
It's cranked to 3 o'clock right now.
Terminate and let's try it one more time.
Call to order. Regular meeting, Goodyear City Council, 12 July 2010. I'd like to start with Councilmember Loretano leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation.
Dear Lord, we ask that you give us the wisdom to make good decisions, and that even though we may disagree, that we do not become disagreeable. We ask for your grace, and we ask for special prayers for those men and women who serve our country abroad and at home to protect our freedoms and our safety, and to their families, and to all of our citizens in Goodyear and the United States. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Frank, you with us?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Frank, we got you on
Can
there.
you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Councilmember Cavalier is participating in the meeting from his out of state in Colorado, but he's obviously with us on the telephone. Councilmember Osborne is on a visit on a tourism conference in Tucson, and she cannot be with us this evening. So I'd like to ask for a motion if we would excuse Councilmember Osborne from the meeting.
So move.
I'll second.
Motion from Councilmember Susan, second from Councilmember Loretano. Roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Lord,
Aye.
Councilmember Sousa,
Aye.
Councilmember Cavalier,
Aye.
Councilmember Cavalier,
He said aye.
Councilmember
Aye.
Bigelow,
Aye.
Councilmember Loretano,
Aye.
Mayor Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Passes 6-0.
Frank, can you hear us pretty well?
Yeah, I can hear you very well.
Okay, great.
Mayor, Councilmember Cavalier, are you on the computer?
I'm trying to get on right now.
Jeff Fine said it would be better if you did not watch it because there's a delay.
Yes, he said there would be.
Just hang in on the
Okay.
phone if you would, Frank, and that'll work. Okay,
it's
we have no
okay.
expenditures to approve or ratify, no communications. Opportunity now for any citizen to address the council on any item that is not on this evening's agenda. Would anyone like to address the council on a non-agenda item?
Mayor, I do have several speakers. First one is Wendy Freeman.
I'm sorry, I timed my statement at home, and it's going to take about 4 minutes, and I respectfully request the time to do that.
Okay, certainly grant that request, and if others need that, I would grant that for them this evening also.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Wendy Freeman, and I have resided in Goodyear for the past 6 years at 18621 Santa Irene Drive. I'm a Goodyear businesswoman, president of the local Republican Women's Club, a Blue Star mom, and Goodyear Police Neighborhood Watch Coordinator for my neighborhood in Australia. For the record, I am one of the 340 people who signed the petition circulating a few weeks ago asking for the city to reconsider some of the budget actions in this year's budget. I signed this petition because at the time it was my understanding that the city of Goodyear had the 4th highest property tax rate and the 2nd highest sales tax rate out of 14 valley cities. As a realtor selling property in Goodyear, that is of grave concern to me, as potential property owners always want to know what our property tax rate is and how we compare to others. Believe me, with virtually no shopping available in Goodyear, no education beyond K through 12 for the average student, and high tax rates, it is becoming harder and harder to sell Goodyear. A lot of potential buyers consider the entire valley, and many times we lose out to cities like Gilbert, Glendale, Queen Creek, and Mesa due to a lack of amenities that young professional families are looking for. That is why I signed the petition, because I just wanted the City Council to know that business people out in the city have concerns about the property and sales tax rates, nothing more. I am very thankful to Councilmember Joe Pizzillo for acknowledging this and working hard to find a solution to lower our property taxes. While I am told it is only about $30 per household, it provides a psychological boost to buyers, and I want to take a moment to publicly thank you, Joe, for your hard work and for listening when I personally voiced my concerns to you. When asked to sign the petition, at no time was the issue of police uniform allowances or fire personnel overtime discussed with me in any form, so I personally have never been given false information from the group that circulated the petition. In fact, as I stated above, the petition was just a tool to let this council know that at least 340 people care about the city as much as they do. That is it. The first I heard about issues with uniform allowances and overtime was over the weekend when I read in the Arizona Republic that the police and fire unions using the social media Facebook were urging their members and Facebook fans to boycott Ground Control and Dr. Hong because these two business owners were part of the group gathering signatures for the petitions and were putting out false information that affected police and fire pay and safety. Let me reiterate, when I was asked to sign the petition, not one word was said about police and fire issues. It was all about making a statement about taxes. Is it possible that the false statements or rumors were in fact started by people who wanted to discredit what the petition signers' intentions were? I don't know Howard Brombeck, have never met him, and have never read his blog. I do know Joan Shield because you cannot be involved in Republican politics in this area without being aware of who she is. I have since met Dr. Hong and his lovely wife Karen and the young couple who operate Ground Control. I found both the Hongs and the folks at Ground Control to be very professional and educated people. I hardly doubt they would be part of a group putting out false or malicious information. However, now that because of the article I know that our police officers receive $2,000 per year uniform allowance, and on the surface that seems a little high. I know that my PFC Army son getting ready to deploy to Afghanistan gets around $300 per year for his uniform, and his uniforms are not cheap. The Army does not provide him with a gun, and I guess that is one major difference in cost with comparison to Goodyear PD, but once you have purchased a weapon, are you buying a new one every year? The reason I decided to speak out tonight is because I am appalled that our local police and fire department unions would call for a boycott of two businesses simply because they wanted to speak out at the June 28 council meeting about the tax rate at their businesses in Goodyear. I had also wanted to speak that night, but was able to get my concerns addressed to Mr. Pizzillo before the meeting. If I had spoken that evening, would I, Wendy Freeman, realtor at XYZ Realty, also have been part of the boycott? I have heard from third parties that both the Hongs and the Ground Control folks are very intimidated by this boycott. Apparently their children go to school with police and fire department children, and they fear retaliation against their children. They may have good reason to think that if you were to read some of the comments posted on the Facebook page and the comments posted at the end of the Arizona Republic article. It is scary as a citizen to think that some of those comments are most likely coming from members of the Goodyear PD or fire department. If you don't believe me, find the comments and read them yourselves. They are available on the internet. I would hate to think that I live in a city where the police and fire unions have the power to discredit business owners and try to drive customers away simply because these business owners spoke out at a city council meeting. I would think that the better approach, if the union believes these two business owners circulated false and misleading information, would be to go to Ground Control, buy a cup of coffee, and talk to them about why you need $2,000 for your annual uniform allowance and the need for fire department overtime and other issues you think they got wrong. But don't act like this is Chicago and throw your weight around like a bunch of union thugs. The union leaders should be absolutely embarrassed about their members' behavior, and the public is due an apology. It appeared to me that most people commenting about the article were on the side of the business owners. In closing, I would like to say that I voted for Mr. Pizzillo, Ms. Lord, and Mayor Kavanaugh in the last election. I would hope that none of you egged on the unions, nor were part of any email emails circulating around Australia, Pebble Creek, or Palm Valley that try to discredit any of the 340 honest and good citizens who signed those petitions. We love the city as much as you do, and I would like to see the 7 of you sitting up there make a public statement about how inappropriate calls for a boycott of Goodyear businesses by the police and fire unions are. Who in their right mind could think that this promotes healthy city relationships? Remember that the police and fire unions are not the only two groups that got you elected. Many business owners and ordinary citizens supported you as well. I'm going to walk out of here this evening and get into my vehicle. Having spent many years working as a police and fire dispatcher, I know how easy it is that because I spoke up for my fellow business acquaintances, I may now become a target of being pulled over by the beat cop in my area, plus suddenly I will probably no longer be needed as a Goodyear PD neighborhood watch captain. I say this in front of the city council and the city manager and the citizens here this evening in case anyone within those two departments is thinking that I can now be a target for harassment. Trust me, after working many years on the inside of a police department, I know how easily that can happen. I am asking that those of you sitting in front of me do not let this happen to me or any other Goodyear citizens or businesses. This is not Chicago. Thank you.
The next speaker card is Bobby Watts.
Mayor Kavanaugh, members of the council, my name is Bobby Watts, and I reside at 15661 West Edgemont Avenue in Goodyear. And I won't be talking about the wronging of Dr. Wong. Thank you for approving the 2011 budget. I think it meets the need of the city, and it takes us through the year, hopefully, to a better economy next year. And I really came to thank you for the Goodyear swim team. The season ended with a team banquet at Centera Mirage Middle School with 150 swimmers and parents attending. The Goodyear Sharks from the Loma Linda pool competed in several meets, individual competitions, and 250 kids, members of the team, and that's Guinness Book of Records swim team, improved their skills, tasted competition, and just had a good time. The lifeguards and coaches appreciate the summer jobs Goodyear has provided, and also the free uniforms. The only requirement to be on the Goodyear swim team was to be a kid. There were kids from Buckeye, Litchfield Park, Avondale, as well as Goodyear. They're all looking forward to an equally successful season next year at the new Loma Linda Park. And by the way, my granddaughter is the head coach. Thank you.
The next speaker is Tim Studman.
Mr. Mayor, Council, City Manager, my name is Tim Stutman. I live at 18433 West Sunrise Drive, Goodyear, Arizona, 85338. My family and I live in the Stray community for the past 7 years. On Friday, June 4, 2010, I went to use the Star Point Residence Club with my daughter. I was stopped at the front desk by a gentleman asking me if I would like to sign a petition to get the upcoming city budget, or the budget for the city of Goodyear, overthrown. I put my daughter in child care and came back to see what he had to say. He went on to tell me that if the city goes with the current budget, how bad off things are going to be, and that there is no transparency in city spending. I did not see any available official documentation to be viewed for content pertaining to the numbers and facts he was stating. The most disturbing thing about this experience were the ill comments he made about the Goodyear City Council and the city manager. He also stated that the city manager makes over $200,000 a year plus $800 a month for car allowance, which is more like $168,400 a month. He did also bring up work groups throughout the city, and did seem to have his facts possibly mixed up. He had his own views on police vehicle usage, such as officers taking the cars home with them, the fire department having excessive overtime use, which is actually FSLA hours, and employees working in the city manager's office fear for their jobs. I went back to get his name so maybe someone could get him the correct information. He was gone, so I asked someone at the front desk. I was told his name was Tim Riley, and the HOA and 2 other individual names were given saying it was okay for him to be there. There was a list of signatures that he had collected. I do feel sorry for these folks that if they were led to believe false numbers and personal opinions. I didn't stand around to hear any of the other conversations he had with other residents, so I can't say if he told anyone else the same things. I do support a citizen's right to gather signatures for a petition, but please keep it clean and factual. I am proud to be a part of this city and admire each and every one of you for doing your best to make sure my family is safe and can live in an enjoyable community. I have a list of the ill comments and the names being thrown around at the Star Point Residents Club. I deemed it poor form to speak on those right now. Please contact me if you like details. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker card is for Nick Martine.
Mr. Mayor, member of the council, Mr. Fishbach. My name is Nick Martine, and I live at 2849 South 162nd Lane in Goodyear. In October 2008, the Phoenix New Times wrote an article that linked Mayor Kavanaugh and Councilman Cavalier to Jack Rose. Jack Rose is a businessman that faced criminal charges and public embarrassment surrounding his activities at the Goodyear Ballpark and other ventures. This article alleges that several high-ranking public officials were flown on Jack Rose's private jet. More recently, our mayor used In Focus magazine to direct citizens towards his personal political blogs. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but all these activities seem inappropriate if they are legal. Now, the mayor also has pushed for the ballpark and the city center. I wonder if these are political aspirations or business ventures. I'm a citizen, and I'm an angry one. I don't have the resource to investigate our mayor, but I urge his government to do so. Our citizens and Goodyear City employees have suffered long enough. As the mayor sits on his high horse and demands pay cuts, furloughs, and reductions in staff with our taxes continually rising, the bottom line is that our mayor puts us here with the Goodyear Ballpark venture, and I suspect that Jack Rose is not far behind. I don't wish to answer questions or get involved with this public debate. I just wish that our citizens will start today by discovering the real root of our problem. I will leave you with this question, Mr. Mayor. Did you ever fly on Jack Rose's private plane? Thank you.
I have one more speaker.
One of the things you do in this particular part of the presentation, ladies and gentlemen, is you respond to criticism if there is one. And oftentimes I don't, but in this case I should. Do you have a record of what he said? I'll start with, I'd rather start with what he said first.
Well, it's on tape.
Is he still here, or is he?
I caught some of it, but not all of it.
I think if he made this accusation, we should stand in front of him and respond to him. Okay, I wish we had a collection of what he said, but I do know about the airplane. This was in probably 2007 or 8 when we were trying to recruit the college from Incarnate Word from San Antonio, and we had several business people and council and me and a couple others, I think, on the airplane. It was not Jack Rose's personal airplane. However, he was a member of a franchise that had the airplane. And it was either fly with him, and then we paid him what we would have paid a common carrier for that flight. It just made sense. It made it quite easier, much more expedient for everyone to do that. And then we met with the people at Incarnate Word and members of the city, in San Antonio to discuss the bringing of the college here. And it was not something we did without a lot of transparency. In fact, our attorney was briefed on it beforehand, and others as well. So it was very clear what we were doing, and it seemed like the right thing to do, and I still believe it was. What else did he say? That talked about baseball. What was his point on baseball?
The financing, I'm not sure.
On baseball, we made a decision several years ago, and I certainly was a leader in that decision, to try and bring baseball to Goodyear. And we did that because we thought there was an opportunity for that, and it moved Goodyear ahead as a significant player in the Valley as far as activities, baseball activities, and other things. It also, our intention was to provide a place for our people to meet and greet and assemble. And we did that, and we used the baseball because an organization within the state was going to pay 2/3 of the price of that. If we hadn't done that, and it's costing us, the total is $105 million. The Sports and Tourism Authority is supposed to pay 60 to 67% of that, and over a long term. And if we had missed that opportunity, we would not have this baseball stadium, we would not have the Indians, we would not have the Reds, we would not have 4th of July in the park, we would not have many other events that are worthwhile to the people of Goodyear today and tomorrow. So we're planning on a city with 600,000 people. It seems like the right thing to do, and that's what we did. And we did it at a fraction of the cost it would have been had you done it on your own as citizens. So that's why we did that. We took advantage of an opportunity to make money. What else did he say?
Mayor, sir.
I have 2 more speaker cards.
No, Mayor wants to know
Oh,
what
I'm
else.
I'd like to know the
What else he
criticism.
said.
I mean, he was pretty clear.
Mr. Mayor, I think in all probability, with that statement, that there's going to be some pressure by the press relative to determine whether or not you have evidence that you folks did pay your way on that flight, and I just hope that that's correct.
No, we paid the price of the common carrier. That's what we did.
Okay, that's fine.
Mayor, the only other note I have is the InFocus and the blog.
Okay, on the In Focus, we have meetings in this council, and all of us speak. And there are times when I feel like the press, through limitations in space, don't always, in their paper, don't always report things I think the public needs to know. As mayor of the city, I want the public to be fully informed. And I didn't think they were being fully informed. So then I decided, well, why don't I go out with a blog, and I announced that in the In Focus. And to me, it was not political at all. I took the politics out of the In Focus and put it on my personal website. And the In Focus did nothing more than mention that fact, that if you want more information from Kavanaugh, the mayor, this is where you're going to get it. So that's why I did that. It made sense then, and it makes sense today to me. What else was it?
I think you covered it.
I'd like to make comment.
Mayor Kavanaugh.
Mr. Mayor, I think that it was personal criticism towards you, so you probably should be limited as far as the responding, and this should not lead to an overall discussion by council. That's the limits of the open meeting law. So as far as other council members want to weigh in, this is pretty directed at the mayor, so if possible, I'd like to limit the response to the mayor, if that makes sense.
Mayor Kavanaugh.
Yes?
My name was also brought up in that presentation, and with that, I have the right to also make a comment or a response.
Okay.
Do I not?
Mr. Kavanaugh, you
right,
were mentioned
Lord?
that. That's true.
Frank, you need to talk a little louder in your...
May I make that response at this time?
Frank, you're on,
Sorry?
and you can respond to the criticism. Just speak into the phone so we can all hear you, please.
Okay. My name was also brought up in connection with Jack Rose. only because my wife worked for Jack Rose, and prior to the Civitera company, our knowledge of him ever doing any work with the ballpark, we invested in that company. And when we found that we were invested in a company that was working in the ballpark, I recused myself from every item that came up for the council concerning the ballpark. And as far as my making any money on the ballpark through any dealings with Jack Rose, I can tell you I lost over $50,000, and I gained absolutely nothing except several people who have made statements to the press, and the press calling me and asking me about things that were definitely over-exaggerated and not true. That's all I have to say, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Frank. I remember the other item was on the furlough and reduction in pay. Is that what he said? Okay. If you look back to the meetings of a year ago on budget and my blog, you'll find that, I've been trying to cut the cost of government, and I've been tried with vigor to do that over the last couple of years. But regarding people, I've been pretty clear that I didn't want people in the city to lose their jobs. I don't mean just fire and police. I didn't want anybody to lose their jobs. And after the first reduction, I don't think, and that was affecting permitting people and inspection people, and those responsibilities had reduced dramatically. Other than those 20 to 30 people, we haven't lost any people, and I've strongly supported that. Regarding furloughing, I've mentioned several times that the city manager should consider furloughing. I think he did. But it's interesting that I specifically have stated on a couple occasions police and fire should be exempt from furloughing. And regarding the pay cut, it was incremental, and it was staged that if you made 50 or I forget the number. I think it was 50 or 80,000 or less, you didn't have any reduction in pay at all. It was only as you made more money that you would have a reduction in pay. The maximum I ever suggested was 10%. Of course, we didn't do that. But I also said that the mayor and council should take the maximum pay cut also. And, of course, we're the lowest paid people in here. So I was accepting the same responsibility as I was asking the city manager and others to take. So that's the way that's worked. And it's all about, to me, that I don't work for the staff, I don't work for the police or the fire, I work for the people, and so do they. And my responsibility is to try and achieve a government which is effective to every citizen at the lowest possible cost. And that's how I've been performing for 7 years, and that's how I'd like to finish up my last 3 years. So, anything else there? Okay, another speaker then.
Yes, two more. Lucretia Augustasola, I'm sorry for mispronouncing your name.
Hello, Mr. Mayor and Council. I don't know anything about the Facebook page, but
You need to give your address, if you will.
oh, I'm sorry. It's 119 South 172nd Drive in Goodyear, Arizona, 85338. I don't know anything about the Facebook. One thing I do know is that I have very bad experience about it. People put nasty things on my Facebook that I didn't know anything about. But anyway, the reason why I wanted to say something was because I have been in support of our fire and police officers, and I don't think that our city should be compared to other cities as far as the amount of money that they're paid or the benefits that they're given, because we do want to recruit good police and firemen. The whole subject of unions and threats is very scary. Fred and I, we stayed within Goodyear because it's like a family community, and I hope that this type of behavior would stop, and that your mayor and council will help to put an end to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
The last card is for Tim Riley.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, City Manager. My name is Tim Riley. I live at 18354 West Piedmont, Goodyear, Arizona. I'm here to speak this evening on the response to the earlier speaker. First off, I would like to say that I have always supported and do support the police and fire in the city of Goodyear. I have never in any way, shape, or form spoken other than that. I'm referring to the conversation that took place with the gentleman who spoke earlier regarding my having a petition signed up at Starpoint up in Estrella. The gentleman walked into Starpoint and asked him if he wanted to sign the petition. On the petition was 5 talking points. The individual said that he would not sign the petition. He was a city employee. I said, thank you very much, and he left. He came back a couple minutes later and engaged me in conversation. It had nothing to do with signing the petition at that point in time. It was 2 individuals talking about issues that pertain to residents who live in the city of Goodyear. I resent the fact that I gave out misinformation in a way to have someone sign a petition, because that wasn't number 1 that I've done. Number 2, if any information I gave was not exactly 100% perfect, any information I repeated was given to me by city employees that I was having the conversation about. I just wanted to clear my name so that no one could sit back and say that I personally and intentionally gave out misinformation to have a petition signed. Everyone who signed my petition went by the 5 talking points that were at the top of the page of that petition, and you have copies of those 5 talking points on the petition that was handed in. Thank you very much.
We can't answer that, can we?
Yeah, we can ask for additional clarification. You mentioned a city employee. I got lost when you mentioned that. Is that, how does the city employee fit in this equation? Best to come up here.
Yeah.
Any information that I engaged in a conversation with the individual, I believe he was a fireman, was information that I had ascertained from members of the city who I had known, who had had a conversation with me and passed information on to me. I had never made anything up or created any information. And I believe I misspoke, but I was told that the city manager, Mr. Fischbach, earned $200,000 and had a car allowance of $800. After that conversation, I was told when I came to the next city council meeting that that wasn't true. And so for that, and for that information, I will apologize for, because that's the information I did say. But nothing else that I spoke was information that was made up. I was just engaging in a conversation with another resident regarding what was going on in the city of Goodyear. I'm concerned about what goes on with our taxes and where money's spent. You know, I have to sacrifice when things get tough, and I think everybody should. And that was what the conversation was pertained to.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Yes, sir, Mr. Sosa.
During this conversation that you had with this individual that
Yes,
you're
sir.
referring to, did at any time, did you take on 3 members of this council and make disparaging remarks regarding them?
To the best of my knowledge, no, sir.
Well, that's not what I'm hearing, sir. I'll tell you. Because what I've heard, you're damaging my character, and I'm not going to stand for that. If I find that you did this.
Wait, you can't do that now.
All
You
right,
didn't do
fine.
that, right, but
To the best of my knowledge, no, sir.
that's going beyond. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We have any further? Okay. All right, thank you very much. We'll now move to the consent agenda, and I'll ask the clerk to read items A through O by title only, please.
Item A, approve draft minutes of a work session and a regular meeting held on June 14th, 2010. Item B, approve a request from Janice Martin for a location transfer series 09 liquor license number 09070531 for Safeway number 3151 located at 9890 South Estrella Parkway, generally located at the northwest corner of Estrella Parkway and Elliott Road. Item C, adopt Resolution 10-1388, ratifying the submission of a grant application to the U.S. Department of Justice for the Coverdale Forensic Science Improvement Grant and authorizing the city manager to execute all documents related to this application. Item D, adopt Resolution 10-1391, ratifying the submission of a grant application to the U.S. Department of Justice for the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grant and authorizing the city manager to execute all documents related to this application. Item E, adopt Resolution 10-1387, authorizing the city manager to submit a pass-through grant application to the Tohono O'odham Nation that will provide funding for the Fighter Country Partnership, providing for an effective date. Item F, adopt Resolution 10-1390, adopting issuance and post-issuance compliance procedures relating to tax-exempt bonds, tax credit bonds, Build America bonds, tax credit bonds, and recovery zone bonds for the City of Goodyear, Arizona, and providing for an effective date. Item G, approve a contract, CON-10-1612, with Malcolm Perney, Inc., in the amount of $591,487 to provide design and construction administration services for Phase 5 Adam Well Development Treatment and Pipeline Project and authorize the city manager to execute all documents. Item H, authorize the city manager to execute a contract amendment number 3 to CON-CX-1323-A3-10 for the Phase 5 GMP with PCL Construction, Inc., for a not-to-exceed amount of $3,092,619, which includes a $100,000 owner's contingency to equip a second AMWC well site and provide treatment at the city's Site 21 facility. Item I, accept the right-of-way dedications for approximate 1/4 mile segment of Cotton Lane located south of Thomas Road and a portion of Indian School Road between Cotton Lane and Citrus Road. Item J, accept the dedication of portions of roadway located at both the southwest corner of Wigwam Boulevard and 144th Avenue and the southwest corner of Wigwam Boulevard and Litchfield Road. Item K, approve a preliminary plat subdividing 273 acres into 470 single-family lots and 2 court-home parcels within the Las Palmas Final Planned Area Development Pad, generally located between Van Buren Street and Roosevelt Street, and between Citrus Road and Perryville Road, with a modification to allow an approval period of 24 months from the date of council approval, subject to stipulations. Item L, adopt Resolution 10-1386, authorizing the city manager or designee to execute an agreement with West Caps for joint study and planning of water resource projects in the West Valley to attain water sustainability. Item M, adopt Resolution 10-1389, authorizing the mayor to execute an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Litchfield Park, providing for the lease of portions of the Goodyear Justice Center located at 185 North 145th Avenue in the city of Goodyear to the city of Litchfield Park for use by their court. Item N, approve the following 4 properties as recommended by the Brownfield Citizen Advisory Committee. 1, City of Goodyear Public Works Operations Site. 2, former SAT site. 3, former Duncan Farms property. And 4, City Center Park. Item O, authorize the city manager and city attorney to negotiate and the city manager to execute a professional services contract in an amount not to exceed $80,000 with Langford and Associates for an updated master site plan for the city's 100 acres of land located just north of the northwest corner of Estrella Parkway and Yuma Road.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone in the public wish to remove an item from the consent agenda?
Mayor Kavanaugh, Roger Matlin did fill out a speaker card for item 7O,
Okay.
City Center.
Did Mr. Gelser wish to speak too?
Gary Gelser, Mr. Mayor. I have a question on item G and H, the Adam Water Project and the well. Could you ask the project manager or our water superintendent to possibly come up and let us know when the water will be actually flowing from Ataman down to our water treatment center?
Certainly.
So that we can get updated on that?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Mr. Matlin, would you like to tell us what you'd like to pull?
Now, Gary, you got to fill out a speaker card like everyone else. Roger Matlin, Goodyear, Arizona, and I'm speaking on item O, which has to do with the city center and an updated plan in which you indicate you're going to spend $80,000. I was just going to ask that you postpone that and not do that. We were short enough on money. Why not save the money and hold off on going forward with that plan? So that's it.
Okay, thank you. All right, so you'd like to delay the city center strategic plan of $80,000? Correct? Okay, thank you.
Mr.
All right,
Mayor, Mr. Postma will speak to the water.
Okay. Jerry, you know, familiar with both G and H?
Yes, I
Okay.
am, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, council members, good evening. Ataman, the project, it's the design and also the development of the well. If it goes forward tonight, it will be started, I believe, after we get approval from ADWR for the drill card. That should take about 1 to 2 weeks. Development should occur in about 9 to 10 months, and we should have water in the system by about June of 2011.
That's the second well?
Correct. This
Okay.
is the second well.
Okay.
Do we have water flowing from that site now to our water treatment facility?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, no, we don't. It will start in August.
Thank you.
From well 1.
From well 1. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Again, addressing the public, is there any other item you'd like to have pulled from consent? Seeing none, any items that the council would like to have pulled from consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor, was O already pulled?
O is, it's been pulled.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And,
No others? No.
Mayor,
Yes,
I'd like to pull 7M.
Mike
I'm
or
sorry,
November?
not
I can't.
7M,
Mike or
7J.
November, Frank? Would you repeat that, Frank?
I'd like to pull 7J. The right-of-way, Litchfield Road and Wigwam Boulevard.
Okay, thank you. Let's, do you have a question on that, or do you want a question answered? Or would you like
I
it
have a
pulled?
question on that.
Okay,
and that's-
before we
that's
pull it, let's
included.
get the question asked. Please ask the question.
Is, okay, the question I have on that is, at one time that was considered an area that was polluted because there was a spill, a diesel spill at that corner. Has that spill been cleaned up, and is that soil brought back to normal?
Yes, Mayor and Council, my name is Linda Beals. I'm the real estate coordinator for the City of Goodyear. And yes, we were aware of that contamination, and we do have a clearance letter from the Arizona Department of
Environmental quality.
Environmental Quality on that site, clearing it from the contamination. The site had remediation work done over it over the last few years, and the city did not accept it until we have a letter stating that it is in fact clear.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Frank. Okay, I have one item pulled, and that's O. Could I have a motion, a second, to approve the consent agenda items A through N? A through N?
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Pizzillo and a second from Councilmember Souza. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Sousa?
Aye.
Councilmember Cavalier?
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Loretano?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lord?
Aye.
Mayor Kavanaugh?
Aye.
Passes 6-0.
Okay, we're on O. Councilmember Loretano.
I guess my concern is, like we talked in the work session, we spent so much money planning it. I would love to
Please
see-
speak into the mic.
Can't actually hear me, that's the first. We've spent so much money in the last 5 to 6 years that I was involved with the city center with Vice Mayor Lord when it all started, that we just keep replanning and replanning. Before we pour more money in and then maybe have to have it replanned, I'd like to see maybe who's going to be there and work with the people who might develop the site, who actually be the tenants, so we don't keep replanning, especially when we talk about, you know, I think you made a good point, Mayor, about the cost of government keeping it low, and I would hate to see this, although I'd love to see it, I think it's a great vision, I just don't see the money there right now.
Are you suggesting that it be delayed,
I'd
canceled?
I'd not canceled, I'd just maybe delayed until we know, get some tenants, get some information out there, see who might be interested, and maybe work with them, because then we know where we stand. Right now, I feel like we're just going to pay $80,000 for another pretty picture, and then it's going to be changed again. And Langford's been a great partner. I just would be concerned that we don't have the money to keep reinventing the wheel, so to speak.
Mr. Mayor, as Mr. Langford indicated, it is very preferable to have a site plan or a concept plan that is doable with the institutions that you're looking for when you approach the institutions. Right now, our site plan or our concept plan that we have is totally unworkable unless you want 2 universities oblong going into the site. And so from that standpoint, we think it's very desirable to get the plans and the concept plans put together right now and a master plan done, so that when we talk to institutions, companies that we are talking with, that they can move quickly, because, as you know, time is money. And so that's what we're concerned about. And by the way, the number that Brian referred to, the 4-point-some million, 4.3, that was for the design plans that we have done in the past couple years. I believe that the amount spent for the concept plans, the master planning, was somewhere, and we will get this figure for you, was somewhere in the neighborhood of $300,000.
Councilmember Souza?
And I think during the presentation that it was brought out that Langford is going to have 3 proposals that he's going to present to the council. Well, we won't be able to do anything, you know, about people that are going to be in those concepts until they.
We can't hear you, Mr. Souza. Mr. Souza, we can't hear you. I couldn't hear what you said. I'm sorry, couldn't hear.
I'm sorry. I'm talking to. Okay, fine. I said that we're in the process of, Langford is in the process of going to present to the council 3 design scheduled. So at that particular time, when they make their presentation to potentials, it will be there. So they'll know the type of businesses or the type of colleges or universities that might take advantage of this property. Did you hear me?
Yeah, I thank you very much for being. I kind of have that same feeling inside. I mean, I want this to go forward. You know that I want it to continue, but it's just that this whole evening and the other evenings and the budget's been about money, and then we're talking about we're going to take $80,000 right now, and so it's been a very contentious budget. So now we're saying to our citizens, yeah, it's okay, we're going to take this $80,000, which obviously is not budgeted. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So I think it's the perception of what we're doing. Is there any way we can do some? Is there any way we could do any of this and still have Langford there so that we could come back to the council and we could present to the public a more concrete plan? I don't know. You just help me here. But there is no free lunch. You're too, Gary. Well said.
What we're trying to do, Vice Mayor Lord, is be prepared so that we can go out and do an RFI for the institutions of higher education and proceed with the city's portion of the development when the timing's right. And we don't know what that portion is going to be or in what fashion the development is going to take place. If a university was interested, and if a university approached us, we would have to say, sorry, we don't know where you're going to go or where we are going to be able to put you. We have to do a master plan, and that will just delay things more at that time. So we believe that it's a very prudent expenditure at this time.
Is there anything to say that a 6-month delay in this procedure is that going to be more comfortable and more palatable because you'll be able to look to see what the economy is doing and what we're doing and what resources are coming in?
Brian, do you have any comments?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Lord, City Manager, what we've structured in this is actually to defer payment up to 2 years, so it could be outside of this budget process. Nonetheless, it is a liability of the city at some point to pay that $80,000, up to $80,000. But it is not intended that we have to pay it right now. The whole process will take about 8 weeks from when they start, which is the latter part of August. At that point, if we were an ability to pay for it, then we could. But we also can defer up to 2 years after that delivery date to then make that payment. As it relates to scaling it back, we've not had those conversations with Mr. Langford at this time to see what can we do for less. So we've not done that at this time.
It's a toughie.
What if we would delay this until the retreat in the fall and discuss it in some detail?
I would like that.
I would be more comfortable if we could do something like that.
Certainly we can. I mean, that's...
Yeah, but I do appreciate John and also Brian's efforts to try to get this underway. But I think it sounds like there's some interest in delaying it until we get to discuss it as a group again. Is that correct? That would be good. Okay, then, could I have a motion from Councilmember Loretano?
I move I don't know if I'm doing this right, table item O until we have our council retreat at a later date and put it on the agenda then.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Loretano, a second from Vice Mayor Lord. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Frank, you vote?
I voted aye.
6-0. Okay, thank you. We'll now move to the business part of our agenda, and the next two items are related to an amendment to the Pebble Creek Golf Resort. The pad for Phase 1 will be presented together, it doesn't say that here, with the site plan. Is that correct, or is it the
Mr. Mayor, with the pre-plat, yes, sir.
pre-plat and the pad? Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you're going to present them both at once?
Yes, sir.
And then the citizens will have an opportunity after you present them both, correct? Yes. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, council members, as you just said, Mr. Mayor, this is an item for Pebble Creek. It's a PAD amendment and a preliminary plat. Both items, again, will be discussed here in this one presentation. The request area is located within Phase 1 of Pebble Creek. This is the amendment area right here, Clubhouse Drive, Robeson Circle. This is the Eagle Nest Clubhouse here to the east of the amendment area. Surrounding
Is
the
it
amendment
possible
area.
to blow it up a little bit? This picture? Okay. Thanks.
And surrounding area is the existing Pebble Creek residential development. Amendment area is about 4.5 acres, again, adjacent to the Eagle Nest facility. Consists of a parking lot, undeveloped pad, and a former sales center, which has since been demolished. And in place has been an Armed Forces memorial constructed. Proposal is to amend the request area from clubhouse to urban residential low density, and that would facilitate the development of 15 single-family lots, accessed by Mulberry Lane and 153rd Lane. Lots would be about 67 feet wide by 130 feet deep, developed with detached single-family homes, all single-story. This PAD amendment and the plat...
Steve, you need to talk into it. They can't hear you in the back. Sorry.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The plat and the PAD amendment were heard by the Commission on March 17th, May 19th. Commission did recommend approval on May 19th. Opposition to the request was voiced at both Commission meetings, and a petition and resident correspondence, all that has been received by staff, we have included those in the staff report. With that, Mr. Mayor, that would conclude my part of this presentation. Staff's available for questions. The applicant is available for questions as well. They also have a PowerPoint presentation for the council.
Who has?
The applicant.
Who does?
The applicant has a PowerPoint presentation.
All right. And this is a public hearing. I failed to mention that as we began. So now I'll ask if the applicant would like to speak.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, good evening. My name is Mark Maloney. I'm with B&R Engineering, representing Robeson Community on this PAD amendment for Pebble Creek Phase 1. As Steve mentioned, I do have a small PowerPoint presentation to kind of discuss what the process that we've gone through in obtaining staff approval and Planning and Zoning Commission approval. We've had numerous public meetings with the residents of Pebble Creek discussing these issues. We've actually gone back to the drawing board and taken into consideration a number of recommendations by both staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission. So as you'll see above, I do have a little presentation. This is the original plan that we put together that was in conformance with the original approved Pebble Creek Phase 1 PAD. It met the requirements of lot size, open space requirements, and various other items of the PAD. As I mentioned, we went through a process of meeting with the public and 2 Planning and Zoning Commission meetings where we were asked to kind of consider some of the public's concerns. What we arrived at was a revised plan that met a few of the requirements in terms of opening up the open space corridor coming into the drive of the clubhouse facility. There was concerns that by, as in the previous slide, by having the lots going all the way out to the driveway, that we would actually be taken away from the visual integrity of the access to the clubhouse itself. So what we did was lose a lot, and we reduced the sizes of lots 1 and 2 to, in effect, shift the lot line down on Lot 8, basically opening up that view corridor, maintaining the landscaping and open space in that area. This was something that was pretty apparent by both the Planning and Zoning Commission and the public because of the resort-style appearance that you have coming into the facility there. The public addressed a comment regarding if we could provide a sidewalk between lots 13 and 14 there where the drainage channel goes towards the Veterans Memorial. Usually Robeson Communities does not provide sidewalks through those open space corridors, and we'd like to continue that and just do things as things have been done in the past. There was also some concerns regarding available parking within the clubhouse facility. We did provide, and I believe it was part of the package that was given to you by staff, we did provide a parking study that demonstrated with the reduction of some of the parking that we proposed, we did a joint use parking analysis that clearly demonstrates that adequate parking is available for this site. I believe staff reviewed that parking study and concluded that that was the case as well. The city has certain guidelines regarding how much parking should be granted for certain type uses. We met those guidelines and demonstrated in our study that parking is available. There also was a concern regarding tour buses and so forth coming to pick up residents for certain events. While this parking lot was never really designed to accommodate that type of use, it was designed to provide parking for the amenities provided on that site. While we didn't provide for that use specifically, we believe that there is adequate room for that type of use on some parking that we put back in adjacent to the lots on the northern side. As you see in the original display, when we removed those two lots, we added some parking back in. We believe that that's an adequate corridor to provide pickup and drop off for tour buses and so forth. So we think that we can achieve that with this additional parking. There was also comments regarding having adequate RV parking storage on that site. Not necessarily storage, but it's been mentioned that some of the residents use this area to park their RVs during certain times of the year because they're not allowed to park it on site in front of their homes. Again, I just want to reiterate that this is a parking lot for a specific use. We did not intend the parking lot to be a drop-off point, nor can we adequately provide for that. The RCI patrol does currently have an area designated and set aside to allow for that, which I don't necessarily dispute, but again, I just want to state the fact that this is a parking lot, and this parking lot's designed for the uses that it was intended. As you'll see in the gray in the parking area, these are parking area spaces that we provided through this development by losing those two additional lots, but also where you see up above, there's 34 additional parking spaces added. Those were added when the Veterans Memorial was considered, which you can see just east of there, or it's actually south because north is to the left on this picture. But that used to be a drive aisle there, and we thought with the Veterans Memorial coming into that location that widening that area out and providing parking spaces in that area would accommodate better accommodate the Veterans Memorial. Again, I think I addressed this a little bit earlier with regards to the ability for tour buses and RV parking as well. This was kind of a response that I typed up, which just really reiterates what I talked about previously, that this was intended as a parking lot and not an RV storage yard. In fact, Robeson Communities does have an RV storage yard within Pebble Creek Phase 2 Tuscany Falls where RV storage spaces can be utilized for permanent storage and so forth. This is the area that was actually reduced from the original proposal that met the PAD requirements. And as I mentioned, through various public meetings and the Planning and Zoning Commission meetings, we came to a compromise, reduced the subdivision by one lot, and shifted these lot lines, in effect basically picking up a half an acre of property, trying to achieve the open space corridor through there, providing a more open, visible area. It was mentioned that this view corridor should be maintained as you approach on Clubhouse Drive into the development, so you would have a view corridor looking into the clubhouse itself. This slide demonstrates sight lines that you would see from the intersection of Clubhouse Drive and Robeson Circle. The red line indicates the original sight line that was shown via the original proposal. You can see the revised sight line that hits the corner of that outside lot. Now that corner of the lot actually matches with the corner of the existing clubhouse, and we tried to open that up so you could visually see the clubhouse itself. This is an aerial photo overlay that you know, there was also various concerns about the landscaping being maintained in this area. There was concerns about the palm trees at the entrance of Clubhouse Drive and Robeson Circle. We've committed to leaving that as landscaped open space, leaving those palm trees as they are today, kind of creating a nice visual corridor as you enter the clubhouse. We also committed to leaving the grassy area that's adjacent to the Robeson Circle South there. What we did was provide an open space area behind the lots, in effect moving the proposed wall, which will be in back of the homes there along Robeson Circle, which all the homes along Robeson Circle have a screen wall along there. It's a collector roadway, and those walls protect the homes from noise and visual intrusion from the street. So we agreed to keep that landscaping along Robeson Circle as well, and some oleanders that are there as well. You know, I do want to say that through the various public meetings we had with the public and both P&Z, I think we certainly have given staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission a large majority of what they asked for throughout the public process. There has been some opposition from the public, and we understand that. But we tried to work with the Planning and Zoning Commission and staff to come to a compromise that we think is fair. One concern that was brought about in the Planning and Zoning Commission was traffic circulation. The existing 153rd lane that you see south of this development on the right side of this slide shows it, 153rd lane, which is existing model village, or no longer the model village. It was the old model village. Those houses have subsequently been sold. What we looked at was what the traffic circulation would be. And what's basically being shown here is people that live in these various lots go to certain destination points. Either they head over to the clubhouse area and out to the main exit, which would be what I've shown as Destination 1, or to the south along Robeson Circle, which would be Destination 2. There was concerns that we'd be introducing traffic into the old Model Village roadway. In effect, this really is not going to happen from a traffic standpoint, because the circulation that happens is following, you know, people are going to take the routes that are more conducive to travel. If they're heading north out, they're going to use Mulberry Lane to get out. If they're heading south, as I showed on those previous red stars, they're either going to take the Collector Road or possibly 153rd lane. But then again, the routes most traveled are typically the routes that are most comfortable, most accessible, which are streets such as the Collector Street on Robeson Circle. So we believe that we really won't be introducing more traffic down 153rd lane. We did make that connection to the existing cul-de-sac. It was a recommendation from Fire and Police. With that roadway, the existing 153rd roadway being narrowed, the concern was to have 2 points of access for emergency facilities. So that connection to the existing cul-de-sac was a requirement, and that's why we have that connection point. This is kind of just reiterating what I said about some of the concerns that came from the public with regarding traffic situation. Would we be introducing more traffic onto 153rd lane? This talks about my response that I just mentioned. We believe that a majority of the trips will use the Collector roadway and not the existing 153rd lane. We put together this is actually a photo of what the clubhouse site looks like today. You can see the palm trees and the landscaping along Robeson Circle. We're looking towards the clubhouse in this view. We put together another slide, which is a visual representation, and this is actually an engineered drawing that takes into consideration the size of the homes, This is a true visual representation of what it would look like. We actually agreed to a stipulation through the Planning and Zoning Commission that we would only put single-story homes on this site. I know that there's been other representations provided by the public that show this whole area blocked out. We don't intend to do that. There will be a screen wall along there. However, we do want to maintain the grassy area and the oleander look along the perimeter wall. And with the single-story homes, we really don't believe it's going to be the views will be substantially obstructed. I also wanted to point out that the original Pebble Creek Phase 1 PAD allowed for a density of 4 units to the acre, with a total lot count allowed of 3,027 homes. Currently, as platted, we're at 2,078 homes, roughly 1,000 homes that were less than what were allowed in the original PAD. That's equivalent to a density of 2.75, so we are well within what was allowed in the original PAD, what was required in the original PAD. That would conclude my presentation. If you have any questions or comments, I would love to answer them for you. I also have Steve Soriano from Robeson Communities here to also answer any questions you may have.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Again, this is a public hearing, an opportunity now for the public to comment.
Mayor, I do have some speaker cards.
Okay.
Cindy Graham.
I'm Cindy Graham. I live at 2684 North, 162nd Avenue, Goodyear, Arizona, Pebble Creek. Mayor Kavanaugh and members of the Goodyear City Council, I feel, especially after that presentation, I feel a little bit like David in a David, Goliath, and Goliath scenario. I hope that you've had a chance to read all of our emails from the residents and the letters, so you know a little bit about what's going on with Pebble Creek. Our Homeowners Association is comprised of a board of 3 Robeson Corp paid members and 2 volunteer homeowners. After the old sales office was raised and the homes in the model village were sold, there remained a very large parking lot, which the homeowners held deed to, as the developer had deeded it to us many years ago, and we maintained and insured that property. Robeson Corp wanted that land back to further develop with houses, even though all lots in Phase 1 have been sold and built upon. The HOA board deeded this parcel of land back to Robeson Corp, much to my and others' chagrin. This is the parcel that you and the council have to decide whether to remain open or saturated with houses. This is not the only land that Robeson Corp could be building on. There are hundreds of acres of houses to go into the Tuscany side of Pebble Creek. Please allow this parcel to remain open so that it can be used by the whole community. I speak for those who cannot speak or are afraid to speak out. We homeowners want this parcel of land to remain as it is, not to have more houses built on it. This is not just a housing development. We are a community of people. Please leave it as clubhouse property. The value of the development of this parcel to the city cannot possibly come close to the value that many of us homeowners hold that land to be, which is priceless as open land. As I looked at the drawing and everything, right now we can look from Robeson Circle and Pebble and the entrance to Eagles Nest side, and we can see the Armed Forces Plaza, and we can see the clubhouse. When all these houses are put up, I mean, I'm shocked to see all those houses that are going to line Robeson Circle, and there'll be a second road behind that. It's just, it's unbelievable. Our community at Eagles Nest, we have houses everywhere. There are no more lots available. It's all built out. And it's just, it's hard to understand, except for the idea that I'm sure Robeson Corporation will make money, certainly off of each of these houses, each of these lots. They'll make lots of money. We will get some of the money, but not enough to me to make a difference to add more houses to Eagle's Nest side. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Steve Stempel. And he actually filled out a speaker card for both items.
My name's Steve Stempel, and I reside at 3427 North 153rd Lane in Goodyear, Pebble Creek. And can I get the overhead available, whoever takes care of that?
Yes.
Okay. Initially, I found interesting that Robeson had asked that the development stand on its own. Says this is accomplished by providing access to the proposed subdivision via the proposed Mulberry Lane. Anyway, they want to take a look at it alone. That being the case, let's go straight to the Goodyear General Plan covering neighborhood parks, which states neighborhood parks shall be provided in all planned area developments and in all non-pad residential subdivisions with average lot size less than 1 acre. Well, neighborhood park is sized 5 to 10 acres, so basically, I guess they're saying they want the entire thing to be a park, looks like by this.
Do we have anyone to help him?
Steve,
Pardon?
can you put the overhead on?
Could you get hold of Eddie?
Jeff is not here. Is Mark gonna
You want to wait till you get the
I can go on with another point I want to make. This is from the City of Goodyear citywide design guidelines under the criteria open space and subcategory single-family detached residential, public open space. Item A, the sum of usable open space should be a minimum of 15% of each residential neighborhood, not including private and public right-of-ways unless otherwise specified. So let's just look at how that fits in with the entire Phase 1 Eagle's Nest area, still no overhead, okay. Basically, the Eagle's Nest is roughly 750 acres. If we back out the right-of-way, which I'm going to just estimate at 20% of that, or 150 acres, the remainder is 600 acres. With a 15% open space requirement, that would mean 90 acres of open space. The golf course, from what I find on the website and stuff, can be used to meet up to 75% of that 90-acre requirement for open space. That would be 67.5 acres that the golf course, of the 90 acres the golf course could meet. There we go. Okay. And so that would leave a need for 22.5 acres of active open space on the Eagle's Nest side. Taking a look at what we actually have today, the dark green areas are what's designated as open space tracts. We have one park, 2.5 acres at the most, just to put the size in perspective. There's a few walking areas around here that are considered green space, a couple of corners here and there, probably 10 acres altogether, maybe closer to 5. And as I showed earlier, according to the citywide design guideline, we need 22.5 acres. We've got a pretty substantial deficit of open space. There is no deficit of houses in the area. Also would like to show how this incorporates into the Goodyear general plan, the parks plan, the long-term park plan. And I've got a blow-up deal here, which I'll show in a moment here. This basically shows the various parks in that general area. These size here are the neighborhood parks. What I've done is blown it up, grayscaled it, and I outlined the area for Pebble Creek. Eagles Nest over here, Tuscany Falls over here. This circle here is our 2.5 acre park that we have on the Eagles Nest side. Down here is a small park in the corner of the Tuscany side. 3 more proposed neighborhood parks kind of along the 303 loop corridor. Sometime in the next 10 or 20 years we'll get that. Quite a large void in this area of no neighborhood parks. And actually, the most recent areas to be platted and starting to be developed are units 42, 42A, and 49, which are on northern Saraville Road. I've got kind of a plat of that also. That's 286 additional homes that are going in there. There are some open spaces there. There's an 9/10 of it down here, a short quarter of a mile away, 2.48 acres, another quarter mile away, 2.31 acres. Almost 6 acres of open space there for 286 homes. Wonderful. That's the way it should be. That's my vision of our city. Instead, we've got these huge open areas here, but like I said, that you could make a point that you're filling in that one there for where the 6 acres are going in. The red dot here is where this park could go. That's the site we're talking about. If we were to make that a neighborhood park, let's center it over there. Fits in pretty nicely with everything, doesn't it? Okay, finally, I wanted to show this area here. Surprisingly, I'm not totally opposed to them putting in all of the houses. There's actually 2 parcels involved here. One that Robeson has owned for quite some time, which was about 1.7 acres, 1.6 acres, something like that. And then the one that our homeowners association owned for years and years and was recently given or sold for $1 or whatever it was back to Robeson. I think there's a compromise to be worked out here, and I think that this area that they've owned for many years with the 1.6 acres, I have no problem with them putting in homes there. They can easily put in 6 homes. It's the Premier Series homes. They're going to be $500,000 homes. They're going to make a nice profit on those 6. The other area up here, which is 2.7 acres, and that our homeowners association did own, I believe should be used as the park area. It's going to be a nice-sized park. It's going to complement what we have on the other side, the east side of Eagles Nest. It's in a perfect location. It's adjacent to the clubhouse, the Armed Forces Plaza. Parking is there. It just fits perfectly. What would everybody get out of this if a compromise such as this? The city of Goodyear gets a park for free. It's fits into your master plan. Doesn't cost anything to buy the land. Doesn't cost anything to develop it. You don't have to maintain it, but it fills the circle there. The residents of Eagles Nest get the park that they are entitled to, that they deserve, and there would be 6 new homes built there, which would have a homeowners association dues of about $10,000 a year, which would probably pay for the upkeep of that area. Robeson gets to sell these 6 $500,000 homes and walk out with whatever. I'm going to guess $500,000 of profit. That is my comment on the zoning change. I had some comments on the Plat 2. Can I come back?
Why don't you do those right now, but could you be very brief? We're way over on time already.
Okay.
Excuse me, could I defer my 3 minutes to my neighbor?
And your name, please?
Frank Costello, 3640 North, 154 Lane.
Thank you.
And, I'd like to do that.
Done. You got it. Thank you. Okay, there's your 3 minutes.
Okay. 3 reasons, or I'm sorry, I've got 5 reasons why this plat does not meet the, should be denied. First of all, the 15% space deal, obviously doesn't meet that. Secondly, there's no sidewalk in this area. This loop, the 2.5 mile loop around Robeson Circle is very, very heavily used, and In here is basically our community center. There is no sidewalk going back and forth between them. There's numerous things in the city codes that require a sidewalk so people don't have to walk in roads or through a parking lot to get there. There definitely needs to be a sidewalk there. Next one. Okay, this is from the citywide design guidelines again. Single-family detached residential. Pedestrian paths, bikeways, or other linear paths should connect single-family developments to general or neighborhood commercial retail uses by use of an open-ended cul-de-sac. We don't have an open-ended cul-de-sac. Next, just one more point here. I'm sorry. Didn't expect to I thought I was going to do these separately. Okay, here it is. Okay, again, this is the City of Goodyear design guidelines. Site design organization, 5A. Where possible, local streets which terminate in cul-de-sacs should touch open space so residents on the street have visual and physical access. So it does not do that either. So that's the reasons I'm against all of it.
So for the pad, you would support 6 houses, but for the plat, you support no houses. Is that correct?
No, the plat would have to be redone anyway if it's only 6 houses.
So, but you are still in support of the 6 houses?
Yes.
In that 1.6 acres?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
One more, Michelle Smythe.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor,
Evening.
Council. My name is Michelle Smythe. I live at 3450 North 153rd Lane, which is on the end of the cul-de-sac that they're talking about extending. I would just like to say ditto to what my neighbor just said, but I would like to add that one of my serious concerns is the road that I live on right now, 153rd Lane, is a fire lane. And I know that when the presentation was made, he talked about people won't use that road. There's no guarantees they won't use that road. We have difficulty right now with that road being a fire lane. When the gardener comes for any one of the neighbors, you all know they have the big trucks with the big trailers, and there's nowhere for them to park, so they do park on the side of the street, and it's difficult to get a regular-sized car out, let alone a fire truck through. So that's the comments that I would like to make.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is that it, Lynn?
Yes.
Okay. We'll close the public hearing. And before I ask the city clerk to read the ordinance, first we'll do the
Mr. Mayor, could I respond to a couple of the comments that were made very briefly?
Yes.
Thank you. We believe that the roadway off of 153rd Lane makes the traffic situation better. People on that narrow roadway can continue north and exit out via Mulberry Lane, and we don't believe that traffic will enter down for the reasons that I explained earlier. Regarding the comments regarding the parks and open space, I think he was addressing this subdivision in regards to all of Pebble Creek Phase 1, like we need 10 acres of parks and so forth. And I do understand the current ordinance, and what we're asking for is 15 lots. We're asking for 4.5 acres, and I know that the ordinance requires 10.3 acres of parks per 1,000 residents. Well, we're not talking about the 2,000 residents in Pebble Creek, because that was approved via the original PAD. We meet the 15% open space requirements. We meet all the open space requirements per the PAD. What we're proposing here is basically 29 residents, not 1,000. If you do the math there, that's equivalent to 0.3 acres of parks. what we've done is we've worked with the homeowners association and allowed them, Robeson has worked with them and gave this Veterans Memorial Park area and the open space area behind that. So in actuality, we have an open space area and park that is well over 0.3 acres, which would be required per the current City of Goodyear's ordinance of 10.3 acres per 1,000 residents.
I'm sorry, can I ask a question? Are you saying the memorial is a park?
Well, it's an open space area that used to be the sales center.
I know, I've been there, but you're considering that a park?
I think a use of an open space area to memorialize the veterans is yes, it's a gathering area where people can come visit. You know, Pebble Creek isn't an area that we need or use like playgrounds and so forth. You know, the amenities that we provide are conducive to the retirement community. We believe that the area that we're providing with the landscape behind there is an open space area that I consider a park.
All right, just want to clarify.
All right. Is that all?
That would be all. There's one thing regarding the land that was originally the parking lot there. That was deeded over to the homeowners association. That was deeded in error, and we did receive that property back. And the homeowners association at that time had a chance to give voice on that. At that time, we had no opposition to that, and we did get the property back.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, well,
Mr. Mayor,
we have.
since you allowed Mr. Robson's community to speak, I know I donated my 3 minutes. Can I say a few words?
Oh, no. This is it, though. This is the last one. No, this is it. This is the last one. We've heard on this subject, and I think the presentations have been excellent by both citizens and the applicant.
Okay, my name is Frank Costello. I live in Pebble Creek and 3640 North 154 Lane, and I've been there 15 years. When I first moved into this locality, we loved the community. We thought it would be a good growing community, which has been. Mr. Robson has been very kind with everybody, has been very level-headed with helping the community. We all surprised now that all of a sudden he's got 3,000 lots or so open that he can build and make money immediately. Yet he's going to take our parking lot, open spaces. Now, if I remember, all the cities, and I work in one of the cities in Illinois, we always looking for open spaces. We don't have the razzle-dazzle that they have because we don't have the resources to present this item. All I'm asking for is common sense, and it's very simple. Common sense tells us that open space is better than building homes when you got 3,000 open spaces to build. Okay? The other thing I bring up is I'm fortunate with the Planning Commission. We had no success because who knows? I don't understand it. We did have one lady that doesn't live in that area, which voted in our favor. She's seen our point. Unfortunately, two of the members which live in that area didn't see our point. In any event, that's all I want to say. I thank you very much. I appreciate you letting me speak.
Thank you. We have the opportunity to approve the PAD and the preliminary plat. We could also, if the ordinance, the PAD is continued, the preliminary plat will be continued as well. If the ordinance fails, then the preliminary plat is void. We would not move to that. I would ask if the attorney would speak to the subject of the vote that is required here.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, in this case, since a protest was filed, which is 20% of the surrounding homeowners submitted a written protest to this zoning action, it will require a three-quarter vote of the entire council to approve this PAD amendment, which would be 6. And since you only have 6 in attendance tonight, it would require all 6 of you to vote to pass the ordinance.
Okay. Councilmember Cavalier, did you hear that?
Yes, I did, Mayor.
Okay, so to pass this, we need a unanimous vote.
That's
Right?
correct.
Okay. I'll ask the city clerk to read the ordinance by title only, please.
Adopt ordinance 10-1221, amending a portion of the Pebble Creek Phase 1 Planned Area Development Pad to change the planned land use from clubhouse to urban residential low density on a 4.4 acre parcel generally located at the southeast corner of the intersection of Clubhouse Drive and Robeson Circle, adopting supplementary zoning map number 09-009 to provide for the zoning amendment, providing separability, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion to amend the plan land use for a portion of the Pebble Creek Phase 1 planned area development, please?
Move the adoption of the amendment as read.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second? For lack of a second, the motion does not pass.
Mayor Kavanaugh.
Okay, Frank, go ahead. I was looking for a second. There is no
I'd like to
second.
make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that we table this, and of course that would mean tabling the next one also to a later date until we can get more information and verify some of the statements that have been made.
Can you tell me exactly what he said, Lynn?
I don't know if I can tell you exactly without listening to the tape, but it sounds like he made a motion to table both items until you can get answers to some of the comments that were made.
Okay, and to table it, we would need to table it to a
That is
specific
correct.
date. Is that correct?
You can postpone it indefinitely or postpone to a date certain. That'd be up
Okay,
to the
either
council.
way. Okay, are you making that motion?
Yes, sir.
Do we have a second for that motion to table this?
I've got a question, Mayor. If you
No,
table,
let me ask, is there a second first on the motion? No second on the motion? Okay, I will open it up to discussion now, however. Yeah.
Okay. I have a question. I'll come back to this one, but can we respond on this now? I mean, do I have a limited amount what I can say, or where am I?
You have an agenda item that's posted. but
Okay,
you
I'm going.
So we're going to talk.
Okay.
Don't have any.
I met with the Robeson community, and I live in Pebble Creek, and I told them that this is absolutely their fault. And the reason that this has all come to a head is because Mr. Robeson has done an outstanding job of building a beautiful community at Pebble Creek and at Tuscany. And he has set the standard very high in the Tuscany area. So when the people on the Eagle Nest side drive on the other side and observe what they've done, and now on the Eagle's Nest side, they want to take away some of the amenities, which they feel that parking lot is an amenity to them. So henceforth comes this problem. So I can understand it, and I'm sympathetic to it. I will tell you that I can't tell you how much respect I have for Mr. Robeson, because he has built a tennis center when he didn't want to. He built a number of things when he didn't want to because of public pressure. And so I admire him a great deal. But here we are. Now we're going to try to come up with a compromise. And my question to the staff was, I know originally you were going to eliminate 3 or 4 homes, or staff felt. Harvey, maybe you can address this. Is he here? Hello, Harvey?
Steve would be the person.
Steve? All right,
probably.
Steve?
There's more.
Sorry, Harvey. Okay, you know, at the beginning of this discussion, staff talked about eliminating 3 homes, because when I went to staff months ago, that's what they talked about. So in this new proposal they've given us, is there actually 3 homes that have been eliminated? Or have they just kind of edged the land here and there and gotten rid of 1?
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, only 1 lot was removed.
That's right. So staff's original recommendation was 3. And when I talked to Robeson this week, I wanted to see if we could do some kind of compromise. And at that time, I talked about one home site. But after listening to some of these comments tonight, I may have changed my mind. But I want to just refresh the people's memory, is that if we had all been awake, the land may never have gotten deeded back to them. But we were sleeping. Some of us didn't go to the meeting. Only a few went. And I think Cindy Graham was one of them. Was that Cindy? You went, and very few people were there, right?
Well, we were only given one option.
Right.
We did not agree with this, deeding back the land. We were to write to, I believe, the homeowners association and tell of our disapproval. Some regulation somewhere in our HOA says we have to have 10% of the entire community that says no for us to even discuss it.
So it
automatically happens.
So it brought up some difficulty. Secondly, as I want to know, is there an overlay, architectural and landscaping overlay? Was it different, the guidelines for Tuscany, as it was for Pebble Creek? Because we've always revising these. So have the guidelines been revised?
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, the design guidelines that were mentioned?
I'm talking landscaping and park, the percentage of green area. Has that been revised since the original plan of the Eagle Nest side? Are they required, is that the same as the requirement when they built, they're building Tuscany side?
Eagles Nest side is different since that PAD was approved in '92.
So all of their requirements are grandfathered, in a sense.
Eagles Nest, yes.
So when the gentleman was talking about that it doesn't match the green spaces and other communities, they're not required to, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I just want to take care of that misunderstanding, because that's where we again lose on the on the Pebble Creek side, because there is a different design guideline on parks. I don't always have the right words for the planning, but you'll have to forgive me. But the point is there. So, you know, I really think that maybe compromise is going to come up here, and let's get rid of those 3 home sites that staff talked about the first. Let's get rid of 7, 8, and 9. That gives you some green space that you can transfer into bocce courts or whatever you want, or a seating area. It still gives you vision all the way to the clubhouse. You know, at this point, I think the word is compromise. And so that's what I'm suggesting in order to still build part of these homes, but make it more palatable.
Are you suggesting compromise in conjunction with the tabling motion, or are you going to
Well, I
suggest
don't know
a
how
new
to do
motion?
this. I have to tell you, I'm going to the lawyer on it, because I'm really not sure at this point.
It sounds like you'd like them to have further discussions and revise their application, so I think you probably want a motion to postpone.
Okay.
Yeah. No, we can't, please.
So,
Can you, is the motion made by Councilmember Cavalier to table this satisfactory for what
Yes.
Vice Mayor would like?
I think you're looking for a second on that.
Yeah, I did get a second, I thought, didn't I?
No, I'll second it.
Okay, well, got it now, anyway. Okay, so I have a motion to postpone or table to a thus far indefinite date from Councilmember Cavalier, and a second from Councilmember Souza. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Although I don't live in the Pebble Creek community, it is a beautiful community, and they've done a great job developing it. But I agree 100% with the Vice Mayor. There's going to have to be some compromise here. It seems does lack some green space, even Lot 12. When you're holding it up there, I'm looking at, you drive into Lot 12, whoever buys the house in Lot 12, headlights are going to be right on that house. So it does look like you just kind of jimmied the lines over, and there needs to be a buffer between the parking lot, whatever is built there. And I would like to see you cut down the number of houses, so I think maybe you really need to go back and work at the neighborhood, because seeing all these people, I do see there's a great sense of community there, and those people, just because you don't need tot lots in your community doesn't mean you don't need the green space, because they have friends that come, just because my parents are retired, my children go visit them, you know. People want to have picnics on a beautiful spring day like this spring. Go sit out and, you know, walk their dogs, sit down. You need some green open space, some paths, some trails. And I think maybe a lot of Pebble Creek was developed, like you were saying before, some of the guidelines changed and some of the new design ideas kind of came in. if you're going to incorporate that area, although it's a small area, I'd like to see you incorporate some of the new designs and kind of keep it updated and get those open areas for the people. And I think you might find that you can work well with the neighborhood in that area if we all work together. So I would really like to see you have the chance to go back and really sit down maybe with the neighborhood some more.
Councilmember Souza.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm concerned that somewhere along the line, 133 people signed the statement I have before me. It says, as actual homeowners of Pebble Creek Eagles Nest side, we object to the plan submitted by the Robeson Company to change the plan development by adding another 16 lots and desire that our submitted design be used if in fact any changes to the original plan is authorized. Now my question is to you, sir, that presented the 6 homes. Is that the plan that these people are talking about?
That was another group that did that, and I believe it was 7 homes was what they were proposing originally, as I recall.
Well then, my suggestion would be then, somewhere along the line, that the folks that signed this petition, okay, get together with an individual so you can make your presentation to Robeson and come up with something that you can live with, something you're going to enjoy. And that's my position here. I think
please.
I think we've got to consider the fact
keep the quorum here.
I think we have to consider the fact that 133 people were concerned at the time they signed this petition, and that they should be heard, and I'm doing that right now.
I think we have an agreement that we need to postpone this, and the suggestions that our council are making can certainly be gathered and expressed between the homeowners and Robeson in a separate forum. So unless there's objection, I'd like to ask for a vote for the postponement. Okay? All those in favor of the motion by Councilmember Cavalier and second by Councilmember Souza to postpone to an indefinite date, would you acknowledge by an aye, please?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
The ayes have it 6-0. Yes, he did. Okay, and that means that the plat and the ordinance are postponed. Okay. All right, we'll now move to setting the property tax levies. And John Fishbach.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Lang or Terry Canada will make the presentation. Terry?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll be brief tonight as it's the final step in the fiscal year 11 budget process tonight. We're here for property tax adoption. As you can see, the budget process this year started approximately about 10 months ago. In October, we had a series of work sessions. We also had a Citizens Budget Committee going at the same time, kind of some parallel process this year. Formalized the tentative adoption on May 24th. The next step was the final adoption and public hearing on the tax levy June 14th, and tonight, June 12th, we're here to adopt the tax levy. Just some historical information on the property tax rate. As you can see, it was reduced this year to $1.42 per $100 of assessed valuation. Represents the, I think it's the first decrease in probably 4 years. With that, we are estimating revenue sources from primary property tax at just over $6 million. That will go for general government operations such as fire, police, finance, city clerk, city manager, and then the secondary property tax levy revenue is estimated at $5.6 million. That goes to cover the city's outstanding debt service. With that, we just wanted to point out the property values are declining in good years. We talked about in the last couple budget meetings, roughly a little bit over 20%. That would mean the median house value from fiscal year 10 to fiscal year 11 is approximately at $152,000, which with the decrease in the property tax rate that was proposed at the last meeting, The city tax on that value of a house would be about $217, which represents about a $117 decrease in taxes to your citizens. And with that, I'll take any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you very much. Opportunity now for the public. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, ask the city clerk to read the ordinance by title only.
Adopt ordinance 10-1222, levying upon the assessed valuation of the property within the city of Goodyear, subject to primary and secondary taxation, a certain sum upon each $100 of valuation sufficient to raise the amounts estimated to be required in the annual budget for the purpose of paying for various expenses, to raise the amount estimated to be received from other sources of revenues, providing funds for various bond redemptions, for the purpose of paying principal and interest upon bonded indebtedness, all for fiscal year ending the 30th day of June 2011.
Thank you. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Pizzillo, second from Vice Mayor Lord. Open for discussion.
Comment?
Comment?
I'm doing some research. My understanding that rate is the lowest it's been in 20 years. Is that correct, Manager?
At least 20 years.
At least
That's
20
all
years.
the further back we can go.
So I know with times being the way they are right now, I know from a number standpoint may not be as large, but I think, giving some of that back, because some of the issues had to do with lower taxes, and I think we're meeting some of those expectations with this action tonight. And again, you can go back and the research, it's never been that rate for at least 20 years. So I'm proud of this council of taking that action and lowering the taxes.
Could I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Loretano?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lord?
Aye.
Councilmember Sousa?
Aye.
Councilmember Cavalier?
No.
Mayor Kavanaugh?
Aye.
Passes 5-1.
Okay, we'll now consider adopting a resolution to authorize the assignment of development financing participation with the Suncor Development Company. And again, we have discussed this in our executive sessions.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, you were also briefed on these same agreements earlier this evening when you were wearing your different hat as the CFD boards. Mr. Ruby from Gus Rosenfeld fully briefed you on the assignment and the estoppel certificates. Basically, the city, as well as the various CFD boards, were all parties to the same agreements. So when we execute the assignment agreements on behalf of the CFDs, the city also has to execute it. So we just need the city council wearing your city council hat to approve the same agreements that you were already briefed on earlier this evening. And seeing the rates we pay Gus Rosenfeld, I decided we wouldn't pay Scott 2 hours to watch our meeting this evening, so we excused him earlier. Hopefully that was okay.
Thank you. Comments from the public? Seeing none, I'll ask the city clerk to read the resolution by title only.
Adopt Resolution 10-1392, approving the form and authorizing the execution and delivery of an assignment of the development, financing participation, and intergovernmental agreement number 1 between the city and Suncor Development Company, an assignment of development agreements number 1 between the city and Suncor Development Company, and an estoppel certificate to be provided to the new owner of land in the city formerly owned by Suncor.
Okay, thank you. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Sousa, a second from Councilmember Pizzillo. Open for discussion. Seeing none, could I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Loretano?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lord?
Aye.
Councilmember Sousa?
Aye.
Councilmember Cavalier?
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Mayor Kavanaugh?
Aye.
Passes 6-0.
Okay, now we'll move to information, an opportunity for any council member to brief the public on their current events and activities. Everybody has something.
Yeah.
Councilmember Loretano.
I just want to say, Mayor, that kudos to the city staff. I went to the 4th of July. Children loved it. Our Parks Department did a great job, and I understand there were 13,000 plus people there, and I was impressed. Great job.
Thank you. Councilmember Sousa.
Thank you, Mr. I am very, very concerned about communications that are going over emails. And I addressed this to the president of the Republican Club. And I've got communications here, okay, that are going out with the heading, Pebble Creek Republicans. Are you authorizing this?
No, I am president. I did not authorize that.
Well, this is being sent out by Joan Shield.
Well, she's not the president. She's over there. Talk to her.
Well, I'm addressing you as president of the organization. Are you sanctioning this?
I am not.
Okay. Let that be a matter of record then. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the politics in the city of Goodyear is nonpartisan. Whether you're Republican or Democrat, that has no bearing in these chambers. This is nonpartisan. We shouldn't have this type of influence being made on the public. And that's basically what this is. Influence against this council and what we stand for in the city of Goodyear. You know, in my 12 years on this council, this is the worst session that I've seen this city conduct. And, you know, it's a shame on us to have this kind of garbage go out.
Mr. Souza,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
There are First Amendment rights. And
Thank you, Mr.
people,
Mayor.
we should honor those. Mr. Pizzillo.
Also, on the 4th of July, had the great opportunity and I thank staff. It was a great event. Actually, it's the first time I've been to the event. I think there was over 13,000 people there. In fact, I brought my granddaughter there, and she was dancing in the infield and had a great old time. So tip of the hat to the staff. Had a great time. Fortunately, when I was leaving, I had to pass on to the manager. I couldn't see the cars behind the, what was it, Bullard for the tumbleweeds as you're kind of leaving in a nice slow pace. So hopefully they're going to be taking care of that, Mr. Mayor, on some of those tumbleweeds there on Bullard. But great event. Had a great time there. And the timing when I guess the flyover was just perfect. When we got done up there on stage and the things, I mean, they hit just at the right moment. So kudos to the director as well. So great time.
Thank you. Councilmember, Vice Mayor Lord.
I also would like to say what a great job. Do we have an exact count on how many attended?
13,984.
13,900. And the flyby was great. In fact, my husband called Luke Air Force Base and complimented the pilots because it was right on. Last year wasn't so on, but this year was perfect. I attended the Skyway Church, their 4th of July, Why I Love America. And I had the real privilege this week. The mayor was unable to speak at this, and so I substituted, and it just was so heartwarming. I spoke at the Arts Interaction Reception, which is orchestrated by our staff, Diana Kripe, Parish Spies, and Arts Interact, Eileen Bagno. And it's sponsored by APS. It's a program for students, and these students were representing Desert Edge and Estrella Foothills. And these students are students who are challenged with disabilities. And so this is a venue for them to express themselves through art. And we have this on display in the City Hall right now, so I encourage you to come to the City Hall and see these paintings. But the sidebar to this, there is a student that took part in this who has never spoken a word. And through this art program, this child started to speak for the first time. So it just has such great benefits. So I just encourage you to stop by the City Hall and take a look at their artwork. I accepted and spoke at the presentation given by Southwest Ambulance at the pool. And they contributed $5,000. And you know this $5,000 is going to save lives because we're going to educate children how to swim. And so there can't be a better cause than this. So I want to thank heartily Southwest Ambulance for this $5,000. Thank you.
City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. I simply want to draw your attention to the yellow paper that I've included on the agenda for your information regarding the complaints that were received from Mr. Broadbeck. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I also draw your attention to the final statement I made that at the end of summer break I will be holding some public forums so that the public can, so that we can perhaps address some of the misinformation that's being spread around the community in a more direct fashion. So we will be doing that shortly after we come back to mid-August. Thank you.
Thank you. Opportunity now for inquiry by council of
Mayor
staff.
Kavanaugh, I do have a speaker card for that item,
Which item?
the information item.
Oh, from
Yes.
from the city manager, this one.
Oh,
Joe Pacello.
Mayor, council members, city manager, my name is Joe. Let me lower that. Joe Pacello. I live in Goodyear, Arizona. I'm also the president of the Goodyear Police Officers Association. I wasn't going to speak tonight, but I feel compelled to speak to address this assumption of retaliation, which seems to be being perpetuated out amongst the citizens. City of Goodyear public safety personnel are extremely professional and take enormous pride in serving the citizens in this city. After all, the majority of us are citizens in this city as well. We have a vested interest in this city of Goodyear and are committed to keeping it safe. For those of you who have expressed their concerns here tonight, let me address them and put everyone at ease. Prior to this issue being publicized in the media, members of the Goodyear Police Officers Association and the United Goodyear Firefighters Association had already met with these concerned business owners and agreed to put this issue behind us. We also gave them the reassurance that I already stated publicly in the Arizona Republic, and I will again give to every resident and business owner here tonight. We, the Goodyear Police Officers Association, the United Goodyear Firefighters Association, in conjunction with the entire Goodyear Police and Fire Departments, will always, always put the citizens and business owners' safety first, and will continue to deliver professional, quality customer service and protection to the city. That's all in the statement I need to address.
thank you. Any other cards?
No.
Okay. Opportunity now to ask questions of staff. I have one. How do you think, how long will the next meeting take?
15 minutes.
Okay, why don't we take a quick break then?
Thank you very
To 15 after, and then we'll knock this off. This meeting is adjourned.